if you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling, dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Welcome to another edition of Talk 'em in the Building podcast. As usual, I'm joined here by my compatriots, my pals, my wrestling buddies, as Adrian once said. We got Greg, we got Adrian in the house. We're celebrating episode 6.
What up?
Excited to be here. How we doing, fellas?
Good, man. Doing good. We're on the cusp. We're on the cusp of WrestleMania season. That's why I got my WrestleMania hat on. We're on the cusp of spring training. Got my Braves stuff. I'm ready, man. I am ready to get this next couple of weeks and months going.
Adrian, how about yourself? How's the new year treating you so far?
New Year's going good. Everything seems to be going to plan. So shout out to the listeners. Shout out to Suplex Dinner Club. If this is your first time checking us out, like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below, where are you from? Where are you listening from? Because we want to know.
And we love our new listeners. And if you're joining us again, thank you for your support. Thank you for coming on board and believing this. Again, thank you, Adrian, for bringing us on to this endeavor with the Suplex Dinner Club network here. And as we're diving in, we're looking into a new year. We love hearing from everybody, different perspectives. We don't want to live in a bubble. So, again, your comments, voicemails, anything you want to contribute to the podcast. And we want to hear your voices, right? We want to hear what your thoughts are on anything that we said or anything you disagreed with, right? It's a melting pot of ideas, right? As we pontificate on the promo here, as it were. So as we're getting into a new year, definitely something that we're thinking about in the new year is the theme of this podcast, which is going to be promising promoters. Who are those that up-and-coming or not so up-and-coming talkers that have helped us envision them as something more, or maybe we see something in them as an unpolished talent that we could see them building and being bigger stars than what they really are based on the promo skill and beyond. But before we get to that, I want to put it out there to both of you here and to the group here. Who's someone that maybe you never expected a promo from, whether they caught you by surprise in the way that they spoke, and it could be in a pro wrestling context, it can be in a daily context, and a non-wrestling context. Who's someone that really caught you off guard, maybe by their demeanor, that you didn't think they were capable of speaking the way that they were going to speak?
Man, that's a hard one, man. So many different things, and I think about different wrestling talents, but I was like, let me stretch myself beyond wrestling, right? Let me think beyond just that in-ring person. And so I have a team lead that reports to me in real life. And I heard her talk to her team one day. And now she's so quiet. She's so mellow. She's like, okay, Greg. Okay, yeah, that'll work. And then I heard her get on with her team, and she was going off on things. She was coaching them. She was developing them. I'm like, who is this? Like, I have never seen this side. And she's like, talking to them in their language, right? When I say that, like what they needed to hear. And I'm like, whoa. And she's like motivating them, but at the same time giving them constructive feedback. And it was like, wow. And then jump to an interview she sat in. It was the first one she'd ever done. She's never sat in an interview, never done an interview, from a management perspective. And you could tell she was really nervous, and it went okay. It was fine. But afterwards, the way she, and I say, cut a promo on the interviewee, I was like, holy crap, what the world? She was on point with everything, and she pointed out little pieces and energy, and you could tell she was excited to be a part of it. And it motivated me. I'm not going to lie. It motivated me that next interview, I felt like I needed to step my game up. Like, I was like, man, I've been doing this for years, but I need to step up my game and pay attention. And it was just really, really cool to hear her do that, and to hear somebody new in their role. I say new, only a few months into that team lead type of a role, very young into her whole career. And just to hear that fresh perspective, that energy, and I was like, this is why she's in this role. It's not just because of what she had done. It's not because we felt it was there, right? We felt there was something inside, but then to see it come to fruition, and it's like, wow, that was awesome. It was like one of those things I wish I had recorded it and then be able to come back and go, man, this right here was a great promo and share it on here. That'd have been great. But no, I was just very impressed. Her name is Natalia, and so if she happens to listen to this, she'll know who I'm talking about. But yeah, she did. She just did really well, and I was just really impressed with what she brought out.
Nice. Shout out to Natalia.
Yeah, get it,
Yeah,
get
shout out
after
to
it,
her.
get better. That's impressive. I like that. And you gonna I'm gonna piggyback off on that when I get some magic, but I want to hear from Adrian too. Did you have like a coworker or any work situation like that, or something different?
Man, I got the coworker that I can speak on that surprised me the most through her promo would be my coworker for life, which is my wife, Lois. Now, if you've ever met Lois or if you've seen her, she's a smaller woman. Uh, she she's very quiet. She keeps to herself for the most part. She'll laugh with you and that sort of thing, but she's not she's not nearly as outgoing as myself when it comes to talking to strangers, that sort of thing. She caught me off guard while we were dating at one point, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just a random person that she felt disrespected her, or I don't even know. I don't even know. I just know she basically blacked out and she cut a promo on that person. Whether it was a waiter or a salesperson, I don't know who the hell it was. All I know, I enjoyed seeing this small, diminutive 5'2", 5'3", 120-pound woman soaking wet, uh, pretty much bring this person to task and tell them how she didn't appreciate something, just run them up and down the town for a good couple minutes. Nothing overwhelming, nothing outrageous to the point where I'm afraid, but for the most part I'm laughing. I'm chuckling in the back, you know. It's just one of those things where you see someone and you have that perception of the type of person they are, a personality, and then they flip it and show you something completely different, and they really show you what they're capable of. What she showed me that evening was that she was more than willing or more than capable of standing up for herself,
Mm.
and to a degree standing up for me. So that was always funny to me, always hilarious to me, and I knew from then on not to cross Lois, my wife, my lovely wife. So
Shout out to Lois.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, man. Yeah. She's awesome. She's awesome, but don't sleep on her.
Cross her.
She's about that. She's definitely about that.
I'll keep that in mind too. Next time I'm hanging out with you, I'll always keep that in the
Yes.
back of my mind.
Yes.
That
Yes.
definitely my
Yes.
style,
Definitely.
because it comes out way more powerful when you don't say much, or you're very even keeled, but when it comes out, you better believe people are gonna be listening, you know. So that's very,
Definitely.
very, I get very empathetic towards that. Well, I have a similar story in terms of disposition. So my father, very much in the vein of Lois, you know, even keeled, cool as a cucumber. Very few things really set him off. Very rarely would raise his voice. If he said something, is because he meant it, right? So I take him to
Definitely.
a wrestling show, a lucha show, an independent lucha show. And as I do, I get us good seats. Mind you, there was 3 rows for the whole crowd. So good seats is relative to what your interpretation is. So we're sitting in essentially a converted one room warehouse. There's Lucha in the ring, and there's a pro wrestler who goes by the name of Supernatural, who's plays this very prototypical rah American guy, blonde hair, dyed obviously, jacked to the gills, you know, average height, and he's going to get into this very generic looking luchador. And my dad is there, and he's used to being, at wrestling shows here and there, but he hasn't really been to a modern wrestling show live in a long time. Mind you, this is the man that I told you would go to the Grand Olympic Auditorium, boxing, lucha, the whole deal, right? So he's not disconnected from it. Well, midway through the match, Supernatural decides, I'm going to do a cannonball, not inside the ring, but into the crowd and into the first couple of rows of chairs. I know what to do. I know how to get up and move and allow space for the wrestlers to take their bump and be on their merry way. So I see the ref start making his way. I can telegraph it. I know what's going to happen, and I'm grabbing my dad from the wrist as Supernatural is doing his cannonball from the apron into the first 3 rows. There's only 3 rows, gentlemen. I clear it. I grab him. He manages to barely clear Supernatural because by this one, everybody's gone. My dad's the only one kind of like lingering. Misses him by a half inch. My father stands up, full show, in the middle of the show, and starts cutting a promo on the ref, on Supernatural, and on the luchador. How dare you, in full Spanish too, because he speaks Spanish. How dare you? You're gonna hurt a child. What are you doing? Didn't you see me sitting here? This is wrong. And I'm having a blast. I am like trying not to laugh so desperately. The ref is trying to calm my dad down. The heel is trying to calm my dad down. The baby faces, they're all trying to like, no, sir, it's okay. It's like it's part of the show. And I thought, no, Dad, like some people pay extra for what you just went through. Just let's have a good time. That was my dad, and I love the fact that I never expected him to be cutting a promo at a wrestling show, and we still talk about it to this day. It's still one of my favorite wrestling memories. So,
oh man, that's awesome.
It was hilarious. It was brilliant.
Imagining your dad, man. That's
if you know my dad, he is not a talker. I can count on my hand how many times he ever cut a quote unquote a promo like that, and the other times were for far more serious reasons. But he was adamant that he shouldn't have done the cannonball into the chairs, and it was hilarious because even after the fact, he's still yelling at the ref. And you have the stunt grannies who know the deal and go to those lucha shows, and he was not that. Right. But it was brilliant. So I've taken him to shows since, and to this day, his favorite live match is Undertaker, Brock Lesnar in a cage at Staples Center, because quote his words, they really looked like they were beating each other up.
Because they probably were.
Right.
So that's my dad. I love my dad on that end.
If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and of course, look us up on socials at Suplex Dinner Club. And be sure to check out our other projects. We talk college football on Dogs versus All Y'all. That's a weekly college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about all things college football. The Life and Times pod, which is short for the Life and Times of a Restaurant Lifer podcast, where I have some chill conversations with some cool and interesting people that I've met in my years in the hospitality industry. And of course, check out Talk 'em in the Building. That's a pro wrestling podcast where we solely focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and we pontificate on the promo. It's a fun project, and if you're a pro wrestling fan, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If you're into TV and movie reviews, check out Four Corners Cinema with Ari and Adrian, a podcast where 2 lifelong pro wrestling fans review film and other forms of media that just so happen to have some of our favorite pro wrestlers. The Suplex Dinner Club family is growing, and I would love for you to be a part of it.
So on that note, I didn't expect my dad to be cutting a promo like that. I'm sure there's pro wrestlers that we see every day and all the time that maybe are starting to stand out to us, right? Young talkers, You hand them the mic, they're not quite there, but there's some unpolished raw talent there, right? There's something that they are doing that is making us believe that they're going to elevate themselves. And what better time to do it than the year that we find ourselves in, 2024? Who knows whose year this is? We didn't know who was going to elevate last year. We didn't know there was going to be a Rhea Ripley. It was going to be a Sami Zayn. We didn't know all these people that were going to elevate their game. And that's something I want to delve into. So as we delve into this next segment here, we're looking at the promising promoters, those talkers that maybe you see that potential in as a great talker. And I'm gonna send it over to you, Greg. Who's someone that stands out to you in terms of the talkers, in terms of who's up and coming for you?
So the one I'm going to talk about, I first saw him personally at NWA Power, and that was in person here in Atlanta. Obviously, this has been a few years, but the moment I saw this dude, I was like, he's going to be a star. And if my son, I remember talking to him, I said, watch, this dude's going to be a star. Just how he carried himself, not just he carried himself as a star everywhere. And so with the way NWA Power was set up, you had a lobby and all the wrestlers would come out there and you could, talk to them normally after the show. And just even the way he carried himself there. And when I say promo is to me is more than just talking in the ring. It is your whole persona. It's everything you put out, even how you speak to the fans
Definitely.
in that casual situation. And in that moment, he's supposed to be kind of a cocky heel, and he kind of came off that way, but still personable because they're trying to build an audience, and it is a very different environment than say an AEW or a WWE, even a fan meet and greet. It's just a very different environment. But he connected with the fans, but he still had this air about him and the way he spoke. And the guy I'm talking about is Ricky Starks,
Yep.
and just watching him, and it's like, man, you could tell you know, where he grew up, what era he grew up in, with the way he speaks and all of that. And I'm not trying to compare him, but you can tell he grew up in that attitude era where you had an Austin or a Rock or a Foley who told stories, who showed passion at times, who didn't show passion at times, who had the cockiness, who could back off of the cockiness and all of that, right? And during this whole time at Power, to me, I felt like he had it, but he didn't know what it was. Like that character was not there. And we've talked multiple times about understanding your audience. And there, the people started to gravitate towards him. He did not know how to handle that. If you go back and watch some of the old Power episodes, you would see he would cut a promo and the fans are with him, and he didn't want the fans with him, but he didn't know how to turn them back, and he didn't know how to embrace it. So it's kind of like, what do I do with this, right? And now in the pandemic, he gets this chance through Cody, that open challenge, to come in, do a legit open challenge, and does his whole, does that match, and based off of his performance with Cody, he gets offered that contract. So I have a promo here I want to play from Ricky from 2023, but I think it's one of the better ones, and it kind of shows where he's going and how he's become such a good talker. While he still has a long ways to go, you can see in this promo, to me, he shows passion, he shows storytelling, and he's advancing, the story that he's in at the time.
With his own belt,
Love the pick. Love the pick.
who was an assigned referee by AEW, you have been suspended 30 days from wrestling here in AEW. You beat a 70-year-old man with his own belt, for crying out loud.
If it was 70, if it was 100, or if it was 30, it doesn't matter. You have to have consequences for your actions.
And you do.
And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Steamboat. Steamboat cost me the match. So you know what I did? I had to whoop his ass. Yeah. Every single parent in here understands, hey, I still love you, Steamboat, but I had to do something that hurt me more than it hurts you. So The other thing I want to touch on is, I figured you guys would go ahead and suspend me. This place has a history of screwing around good guys like myself. So you know what I did? Yeah, don't look at me with that dumbass face. All you people back there, you want to play in my face like I'm some type of joke. Well, here's the joke. I went ahead and I got a manager's license. So you know what that means? Yeah, Ricky ain't wrestling, but I'm still going to be on this damn show each and every week because this is my show. This is my face, and this is my freaking legacy. You don't have to like me, but you don't have to love me. But guess what? You will respect me. You look at me like that again and I'll whoop your ass right now. Yeah, baby, I'm unhinged right now because I'm absolute Ricky Starks. CM Punk, I want you to know one thing. Blood is on your hands, brother. You brought that man into this ring, and you were the reason that he got 10 lashes. So my question to you is, hey, you got the W, and I got the L. But guess what? I can live with mine. Can you? No. You aren't Superman, you ain't bulletproof, and you damn sure ain't absolute Ricky Starks. Does this make sense to you? Because it makes all the sense to me. Right now, right here, I am proclaiming, I am saying with enough heart and passion that I am going to set this whole damn company on fire. And I'm going to start next week. You want a war? Guess what? I'm going to bring a war to your front door, and I'm going to make sure you, your mama, your daddy, and your sister all understand that I am absolute Ricky Starks, and there ain't nobody like me on Dynamite or on this damn-ass show.
Yeah.
For me, what that promo showed from Ricky is normally he kind of does the cute, fun, rock-esque promo from the past.
Right.
He can throw in some certain pieces, but that one showed me the range that he can go serious. And he told a little bit of a story because prior to that, if you remember, that's when he whipped Ricky Steamboat with the belt. And
that's right.
And that's where he told that story. I didn't want to do it. And he says, that's on CM Punk. Now, did he totally put that in the perfect perspective? No. And that's why I say he's still up and coming. But he did. He said, I can live with my loss. But can you live with the fact that those 10 lashes on Ricky Steamboat is your fault? No, you can't. And so he kind of brought that together. And that's my thought, is that he's taking his promos to the next level. He's layering them. He's telling better stories, not just address what's today, address what happened, address what's happening today, and address what's going to happen in the future. And I thought he did a good job of that. You can see some certain pieces there where he's not as comfortable. He's much more comfortable holding the mic. If you watch, he kept grabbing Tony's hand. He wanted to hold it, and then he just took it from Tony because he's like, I need this on my own.
Right.
But that passion came through, and I thought that was awesome. And he acknowledged the crowd, and that's something we have talked about multiple times. Do you acknowledge the crowd? Do you not? And one of the things he said, does this make sense to you? Because they're cheering him. And so the reason he's acknowledging that, because why not acknowledge it? Does this make sense to you? It makes sense to me, because basically what he's saying is, Punk, this is on you. So they know it's on you too. And it's like, and so to me, it was just different layers. And that showed me, man, that I felt like, I told you, since I saw him in Power, I felt like this dude's going to be a star. And if handled properly, his star's going to skyrocket. I truly believe.
Oh, yeah.
Because he can talk him into the building. He can talk him into buying those pay-per-views. He can talk him into ratings. I think that they have slept on him at first and not given him all the opportunities he deserves. Hopefully they do. Because if AEW doesn't, somebody else will.
Oh, yeah. Clarification, wasn't that the promo, the Punk feud that got scrapped, right?
Yeah.
Dang, would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of go back, and I don't want to question all the booking, but to me, I'm about to. When Punk came in and he went after Darby, which never made sense to me.
Oof.
A
Yeah.
Punk Starks feud makes better sense because they can go head to head on promos, and Punk would make Starks better. Darby cannot cut a promo and stand in that ring back and forth, but a Starks and a Punk together and being able to cut promos at each other and what Starks can learn from that, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that just would just elevate him to a whole different level.
I mean, we got a taste of it with MJF, right? But
Hmm
that was it. That it was again the unfinished stories there.
I kind of
Go ahead,
think
Adrian.
Collision was headed. No, no, I was gonna say I kind of think Collision was headed towards that.
hmm
Starks and
Hmm.
Punk,
hmm
like before the drama and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
It's really did seem like they were about to go ahead and get those two cooking,
hmm
and it was a prime opportunity for Starks to go ahead and be elevated because you're going back and forth with one of the best modern day performers, like him or not, you know?
hmm
So it's just really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate for somebody like Starks to have to deal with something that was out of his hands, out of his control.
Yeah.
He
Right.
literally had nothing to do with the drama of the end of CM Punk and AEW. He was about to benefit greatly
hmm
from CM Punk being on Collision on that Saturday show. He was about to greatly benefit from his interactions on Saturdays. I know it, you know it, we all know it. So
Yep. I
it's
agree.
just definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, and as far as incubators go, that definitely would have been the one, right? In terms of developing that talent. Uh, I love Ricky Starks. I mean, I think he's brilliant. I'm
Definitely.
with you. You know, I hate that there's gonna be an NWA love fest of that certain period, and you guys were there, so you guys got to feel for it. But man, he was breaking out so much in NWA, and just this fiery, hungry guy that you still see now, right? But that was quite the peak, and I'm confident he can get back there, given the right feud, given the right person, to play off of. We speak so much about your partner being just as important almost as the strength of your promo and the strength of your conviction, but there is a lot more
Definitely.
there, and I'm looking forward to how he develops and finds that dance partner, because man, he's money when he's on point and he has that fire under him. And maybe that's what's going to happen, right? Because he's been, let's be real, winning the tag champs with being tag champs with Big Bill. As much as I like Big Bill as a heavy, it ain't it.
hmm
Hmm.
That's not the Ricky we want to see. That's not the Ricky that's gonna make us fall in love with him again, so to speak.
Yep. I give you one quick Easter
Definitely.
egg. Has nothing to do with promo. I assume you guys watched the Last Ride, right? Back when the Undertaker Last Ride, and
Hmm.
they showed him getting ready for
Yeah.
John Cena and how hard he was working to get in shape for the John Cena match. And
Yeah.
they never showed his training partner, but they were in that warehouse and they were busting
Oh
his. That
yeah.
training partner was Ricky Starks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys knew that or not, but that's
That's
I
dope.
think Archer mentioned something about that too.
yeah. It was,
Him and Ricky bonding over Undertaker
mhm.
because they're Texas guys, both of them.
And yeah,
Well,
Ricky.
not Texas
Mm.
guys, but they were training in
Yeah,
Texas
Ricky
for a
was
while.
training at the same gym as Undertaker, and they had become friends. And yeah, there's allegedly pretty tight, which is just
Wow,
hilarious to me.
that's
But
impressive.
it's like I was like, oh man, I wish they had shown some of that
That's dope.
footage. That'd have been cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey man, you
Oh
said it,
yeah.
Adrian. I mean, if they don't do anything with him in AEW, man, he's got the built-in friendship with Cody over there.
Hmm
I know. So, wouldn't surprise me.
That's it.
Wouldn't surprise me to see him blow up.
That's it. Ricky remains to be one of the most exciting personalities in professional wrestling. One of the
Hmm.
most he's honestly I'm gonna be absolutely uh transparent in the sense that AEW doesn't do much for me. and I very rarely watch it, but Ricky Starks gets my attention. So for
Okay.
that, I pay attention. I will watch All Elite Wrestling for someone like Ricky Starks because, like Greg said, we saw him in NWA. We know what he's capable of, especially if you put some investment toward him. So um, he's just one of those guys that I want to pay attention to
Right.
in this world of professional wrestling where everyone's pretty much doing the same thing. Like, let's be honest, everyone, not just not just AEW, but WWE also is a
Mm-hmm.
world of blah. Everyone doing the same thing. You have a couple personalities that are sticking out that are grabbing your attention, and Ricky Starks is absolutely one of those personalities. So shout out to him.
100%. I agree. Well, we'll move on to you, Adrian, and thinking about who are those people that stick out to you that might make you want to turn on, a clip or even tune in. Who's that? Who's that up and coming pro wrestler that sticks out to you from a promo perspective?
And my up and coming promo is someone that, granted, the promo I'm going to present to you all, it's not perfect, it's not pristine, but we see the elements of what can be something that's great. We see the elements of someone that could truly be a superstar. And the promo that I want to bring to the table is Jade Cargill. I
Yeah.
last episode when we gave our year-end awards, I almost gave this person most improved promo just based on the level of confidence that I saw comparing to when she first came to AEW toward her way out. The kind of promos that she cut, it was less bells and whistles in the sense of other people talking for her. It was
Right.
her talking. It was her standing front and center. Yes, she had her baddies, and thank you, Jade, for providing us with such eye candy. But like, she stood on her own and she cut, she would tell the people what time it was. She would tell Tony, cut the shit. Like, that was funny to me. And it was just these are little things that added to her personality, that added to the allure of someone that is, I mean, she's money. You look at her, you don't have to hear a promo, you don't have to hear anything about this person, but you see her and you're like, who is that? And where can I see her? That's Jade Cargill. And I think this promo in particular, it gives you like beginning stages of someone that could be a superstar, someone that could be a mainstream superstar.
Now we all know why we're here tonight. Because of me and my big ass celebration. But before we begin, let me address something and set the record straight. I made the baddies. I say who stays and who goes. Now you see, I got rid of the trash last week, so I'm so confused as to why you two were chilling with her this past weekend. I am done playing games. I got my belt back from Nyla at the pay-per-view. Understand, to stand next to me is a blessing. So either you two get in line or you can step. Because you two are eating on me, off of me, and this entire company is eating off of me. I am the brightest star that our company has. You stand me next to any wrestler backstage, and I bet you the regular consumer would say I'm the star. Nobody has my body, my face, my aura. Nobody. So you tell me what we're gonna do about that. And you all can play, but I put asses in seats. I wrestle for bad bitches. Now, cameraman, do your job and get my baddies. I am the real deal.
I can't disagree with anything she says.
Yeah, exactly. Like the cool part about her promo is, again, and we'll go ahead and say this as the Adrian strip club test. This scene or this promo is on television. We can't hear what's being said. We can only see what's being on TV. How many people do you know that are going to see this and at least ask, who is that? Like, just based on what she has on, based on her stature compared to her baddies, like her energy, her, just her whole personality, everything is just oozing off of her. And I mean, Jade passes the Adrian strip club test, where I don't have to hear a word of what you're saying. I can just look at you and look at what's your presentation and say, that's a star. That's someone that I want to know more about. That's Jade Cargill. And I think in that promo in particular, it showed more confidence. It showed more conviction as to what she was doing. Now I can be a critic of AEW and say, hey, they weren't all in on the baddies section thing gimmick that she had. They could have done way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
They could have paired her with more people. I could say all that, but all in all, her promo, I would say, is top notch for where she was in her career. And it only makes me more excited knowing that she's in the performance center actually being coached up. And I'm just excited to see what she's going to present to the people, because she has it.
She is, by nature, right? Just look at her, right? Disciplined, determined, and you don't just sign into pro wrestling if you don't have higher aspirations, right? Initially, what was the thing? Why didn't you sign with WWE? Well, AEW gave me the better deal, right? Who knows? Who knows what that initial conversation was like and why she signed with AEW? But someone who carries themselves as a star from the moment they set foot in a company, like you said, they passed the vision test, right? They passed the test, the Adrian Mitchum test, because I don't need to know the content of what you're saying, right? But
Right.
if we're truly judging her based on the content of what she's saying, this promo, she took all those, I mean, I don't think she's an insecure person, obviously, but all those insecurities of, I'm being compared. If I compare myself to that person, the average wrestler in the back, I'm better than you. And she's not lying, because let's be real, like, put her next to anybody in the back, maybe save like somebody who's super popular. People are going to say, oh, that's the pro wrestler. That's not the other guy who's probably been in the business for 15, 20 years.
Right.
And then just knowing how much, like, that backstory goes, that she didn't sign with WWE initially because she was going to lose all this money on endorsement deals she already had. And there's someone that knows their brand. They know who they are. And it's going to be very impressive this year to see where that leads in a bigger context,
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I think she's a great call out. You're like watching that promo, as you said before you played it, it's not the best promo. It's disjointed.
Right.
I don't know where she was going with it. So it's like, oh, let me think about this, let me think about that. And that's where those coaches come in, right? That's where those pieces that you guys just touched on, the PC is going to come in and teach her, this is how you put it together. Your content is great. going by on her content, one thing that stood out to me that I did love, she says, "Put me next to anybody back there, and I'm the pro wrestler." She didn't say any woman. She said anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And tell
Say
me she's not right.
anybody.
Put
Yep.
Moxley next to
Yeah.
her. Give me a break. Put Eddie Kingston next to her. Give me a break. Put CM Punk next to her. She's bigger than him too. Uh, I mean, you think about
That's a
every single
fact.
person you put her next to, she's the one. She will overshadow them. She does have a presence. She has a look, and the AST, she definitely passes with an A plus, the Adrian Strip Club test. And I'm gonna get a shirt that says AST. That's gonna be available at our merch site at some point when we get the merch up. We're gonna have the AST,
That's
the
it.
Adrian Strip Club test. But you're right. It's one of those things, and you kind of put it. I think you said this before. It's like you go to a show, a TV or a bar, and they have something like that playing in the background, no sound, and you go, "Who is that?" And there's a few people you will see that, right?
Definitely.
She's one. And you have to have the monsters, you have to have the special attractions,
Mm-hmm.
but she's beyond a special attraction. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And there's something else about her. There's a quiet confidence that says, because we already know she don't need the money. She's doing this
Mm-hmm.
because she loves it and
Mm-hmm.
because she wants to. And when you have that passion, you get her. And I'm gonna put her on this pedestal with a Logan Paul. He don't need no money, or a
Mm.
Bad Bunny who come out there and they're gonna bust their butts because they love it and because they want to do it and because they want to take themselves to the next level. So I love your pick. I love the fact that yes, she is. I mean, quickly you can see in those small pieces that WWE has been doing with her
Mm-hmm.
over the last few months. It's building a character, but it's also slowly building that confidence to put those promos together at a different level.
Y'all correct me and definitely push back if you don't agree, but doesn't she give you the vibes of like an elevated China? Like, I remember when China first came out, and I remember seeing China and just being like, who the hell is this? She didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to say anything. She didn't have to work. I mean, she was working by just standing there and her gesturing and just looking intimidating. That's the same kind of feeling that I got initially with Jade. I was like, man, this woman
Mm-hmm.
is a brick house. She's a brick house. Who is this? What is she capable of? It just reminds me or brings me back to the first time I saw China. That's the kind of perception I always had of Jade initially.
I can see that. I can see the presence. China didn't never said a word for a long time, right? That whole DX run,
No,
they would have given her the mic. She'd say something of value, but you knew that she was legit because of who she ran with, and because, quite frankly, she looked more intimidating than maybe everyone else there. I mean, Billy Gunn's a giant, but even then,
she,
like, her presence was
she was
very
bigger
different
than
from this
Sean.
movie. Yeah.
She
Oh
was,
yeah.
sh- yeah, she was bigger than Sean. Triple H was jacked, of course, so we can't say she was bigger than him. But
Right.
you have this jacked woman standing beside, and in some cases protecting
Right.
Triple H. Like that was money. We were all invested in who she was. They didn't have to put a mic in front of China.
But to your point here, I feel like we're in the right place in the right time. We just got we were talking about Rhea Ripley, right? For most improved. Go back a couple years, 5, 10 years. I don't know if a Rhea Ripley can be fully bought into because of you know, the women now being more elevated and whatnot. Whereas
Right.
now, I don't think we'll have intergender wrestling anytime soon. But the fact that there is this presence, right, with Jade, that, like you said, she can set foot in a ring, and it doesn't matter male or female or anybody else in front of her. She's going to be the standout on her own merits, right? Not on this, we're going
Definitely.
to elevate you because we think you're going to bring us more eyes because of your gender, because we truly believe you're a star. And, I think it's funny how she has evolved from essentially Storm cosplay to, no, I
Right.
am my own person now.
So I am gonna push
Definitely.
back on the China thing. I wasn't as
Okay.
intrigued of China. China was just like, I was like, who is this? But I didn't care to find out anything about her. I just knew, okay, here's a big bodyguard. Okay, cool. Because I didn't feel like she had a presence of standing there, but I didn't feel like something oozed off of the screen. So as you're saying that, I started thinking about who did I have that reaction about? Who did I have the first time they came on my screen? I was like, who is that? And I sat up. And for me, it was Lex Luger. And now when I say Lex Luger, I'm talking about the first time he showed up on WCW Saturday Night and proclaimed he was going to be a horseman. So here's a dude. So you got to think about it, at the time, you had Tully, you had Rick, you had Ole, you had Arn, you had Dusty, you had Nikita, you had the Road Warriors. You ain't seen nothing ever walk onto your screen that looked like Lex Luger. You think about his body at the time. He walked out, gold nugget watch, big dude, and a presence about him that you're like, whoa, who is this? And then he had the confidence to say, I'm going to be a horseman when they already had 4. I mean, it's not like one was on the outs and there was no rumblings. It wasn't like there was anything building or anything, right? So that's the one thing that just jumped out at me when you said that. I'm like, man, that was the talent, because at the time nobody looked like that. Not like that. You had big dudes.
Not in that company.
No, sir. I mean, Nikita was jacked and the Road Warriors were jacked, but nothing looking like that. But then to have that confidence to come out and say that, and to be there week in and week out, and to elevate, and I think Jade is more on her own, but it's still whoa, who's this? And another person who I actually had that intrigue about, which is not a mainstream star when I first saw her, was Camille. Camille to me had, and especially when she first came out with Aldous, I was like, who the heck is that? And I was like, because she had a presence about her that I would say was even bigger than China's. China was a big badass. Like, she just, right? And to me, there wasn't the charisma that oozed off the screen, but you had that intrigue. But with Camille, there's a charisma, and with Jade, I think there's a next level charisma that kind of comes off that screen. It's like, who in the hell is this? And then one other thing, Adalid, that when you're saying that about the women, I think the difference that has changed with the women that we don't think about. You hear them when you really hear the big stars, and you hear them talk about who they grew up watching. They don't always say Trish. They don't talk about Lita. They talk about Eddie, Chris, Macho Man, The Rock, Austin. They're not talking about the women. They're talking about the men. And that's why I believe we have better female wrestlers today, because they model themselves after the mainstream stars. They didn't just say, they didn't put themselves in a pigeonhole that says I have to be like Lita, or I have to be like Stacy Keibler, or I have to be like Tori Wilson. Nothing against them. They were great for their time. But as it evolved, they evolved because they started to follow the men. And they have become superstars. Like we just talked about Jade, and we talked about Rhea last week. We don't compare them to the women. We compare them to the stars.
And not to go into such a big rabbit hole, but just kind of putting a little bow on it, it makes me think of this newer generation, right? Even newer than, younger than Rhea, younger than Jade, like a Roxanne Perez, right? She came in through Booker T's promotion and everything, and she's tried and true. She's of the generation that we forget those bangers that Bailey and Sasha Banks had in NXT. It's been a decade. It's been a decade. Yeah. If you had 8-year-old, 10-year-old girls watching that, hey, they're training, and she's proof it. And so I think we're going to see that shift come around again. All these influences just barrage into it. Where, to our point, we're not looking at it from male female. We're looking like, who's superstar,
exactly.
who's gonna bring money to the table. And the fact that it's opened up, I think we're just fortunate to be living in a time where that's a possibility too.
That's a great point. Great point.
Well, I can't really follow up those two that you mentioned, because I think a Ricky Starks is well on his way to being who he is. Jade Cargill obviously came in with the confidence and is, truly established and will see better, great things this year in WWE and through the Performance Center or even on the main roster for all we know, right? What I want to highlight, and it will bring me back to what Greg was saying about Ricky Starks, is someone that I've seen come up in the periphery, and someone whose backstory is a little bit interesting because, admittedly, he says, "I wasn't a WWE guy. I was too young for WCW." Um, there's this in between where ROH wasn't released. So, this particular young wrestler by the name of Chris Bay, who wrestles now in TNA Wrestling, his upbringing was Impact. He speaks very fondly about reminiscing about not buying a WWE championship, but buying an Impact championship or a TNA championship as a toy. So as we all know, we all love Impact. We all love what they're doing with with the rebrand and TNA. And I think it's such a great incubator because, for better or worse, the audience is much smaller, but the product is so consistent that they can build someone. And I think this is something that I've noticed I'd say over the last like 3 or 4 years, because there was some time in the pandemic where obviously he didn't get a chance to perform as much. And you get to see that. So who I'm going to be highlighting is Chris Bay. And this promo is, I wouldn't say it's the, end all be all of promos, but having seen him come up and evolve and change, I thought this was a nice one to highlight how much more confident he's becoming. And again, in this particular promo, they're calling out the Motor City Machine Guns, but the confidence, and we spoke on this earlier, it's not just in the ring, it's out of the ring. And having seen him live and independent shows and seeing how he would interact with the crowd, how he'd enter with that swagger, you see glimpses of it here. He's not there yet, but so I'm very partial to Chris Bay. Probably for the first time I saw him, this was probably 2019 easily, because it's either 2018, 2019. We started doing more of the West Coast, if I can remember correctly. And obviously he has the moves. He's very talented in the ring, but that polish with the mic wasn't quite there. It's still not there, but you see flashes of it. And you see flashes of it in the sense that he's setting the table. He's not just telling you, hey, like, we're the best tag team. Like, here's everything we've done up until now. And I'm going to give you some backstory that I used to set up the ring, that I used to set up chairs in the building. I'm not just I'm not a newcomer to the sport. I love this, I love the game. But he's elevating, right? And to the point that he had to find that niche when they did this offshoot of Bullet Club, right? Within the confines of Impact. And I think that's the beauty of it, that again, Impact, or TNA as it's known now, is this great incubator for folks to try things on with a very supportive audience, right? That gets it, but we know we're going to get the payoff. We're going to get the in-ring payoff without a doubt. And this is followed up later by, Motor City Machine Guns, who they themselves are very underrated as a promo as well and as a tag. But I don't know, gentlemen, what you guys are thoughts on Chris Bay as a wrestler and maybe more specifically as a promo.
I think he's, well, wrestling wise, very good. I think the Bullet Club thing has helped him a lot, and I think the reason that has helped, it goes back to the Impact or the TNA philosophy. It allows you to connect with people who may not know you. It's okay. Oh, Bullet Club. I know Bullet Club, so oh, he must be cool, right? So it's like that type of thing. It's kind of what they've done in all kinds of factions, whether it was the Horsemen or back in the day with NWO. Sometimes it gets watered down, but at the same time, it still gives you an identification. What I love what he did, we talk about connecting emotionally, and something that TNA allows you to do, especially in a organization like TNA, you kind of have to tell your story a lot because there's not a lot of people watching it, and there's a lot of casual watchers. And so by having casual watchers, they may not know who you are and they don't know you week to week. So by him giving that story of like, hey, I have history in this building. I set up the ring in this building. I had an X Division championship match. Made my TNA debut in this building. I mean, all that kind of stuff. It starts to connect you to that local crowd. So he's not so much talking to the viewer, he's talking to that local crowd. Because now if I can connect to that local crowd and they pop, that pop can suck me in as a viewer. And that's something that TNA allows you to do, is tell your story almost weekly. And if you listen to a lot of their promos, they rehash a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you don't see that as much in AEW or in WWE because you have more weekly watchers. And that to me is showing his maturity as a promo guy, is that he sees that. And then of course at the end he brings in his partner. That's also a challenge. How do you incorporate another person into your promo as a tag team? But no, I love your choice. I don't get to watch TNA a whole lot. I'm familiar with it. I don't see everything, but I like that choice because just in that you can see the flashes of, man, this guy has something and he can take it to a next level. And like you said, it's an incubator. It's just interesting how you put that for TNA, but it is. It's kind of like I can test stuff out. They have a little bit of leeway, but I would argue they have better producers than AEW. And I think Scott Demore and
They
Dreamer
definitely
and
do.
others behind the scenes are
Yeah.
working with them and are going to sit down and say, okay, this is what went good. This is what may not go so good. And I believe behind the scenes, and I don't know this for a fact, but just little things I've heard, they want you to go on. They would.
Yeah.
There's nothing better for TNA than to watch a Chris Bay go to WWE and succeed. Because what do they have? They have a tape library that can say, "Hey, you know when the dude who's up there in
Yeah.
Mania now, he was here. Hey, AJ Styles was
Yeah.
here. Hey,
Yep.
Robert Roode was here. They did it all the time. Punk, all these other guys,
They do it.
they
Yep.
can do the same thing with Bay. So they know the value of getting you to that next level. And so I think that he's that person, one of those people who they probably see a lot of potential in. So I think that's a great pick, man.
And to your point, I
Definitely.
think it's
Definitely.
the unspoken production side where look at the WWE backstage right now. It's all former Impact people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. You got Abyss producing back there. Come on, like it's underappreciated how much talent there is from from a production point of view. So I fully agree with that perspective.
Definitely. I mean, Chris Bay is one of the most charismatic uh, performers in professional wrestling. If you give him the opportunity,
Hmm.
in this day and age of social media, of Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, Chris Bay is one of the most fun follows because
Hmm.
he's very interesting. The things that he puts out, his replies are hilarious. Just how he goes about his daily activities is very interesting, and is a person where you want to know more about him. So he definitely has the tools, he definitely has the pieces, and once he puts it all together, he's definitely going to be a star. He's definitely going to be a star. I love the pairing of he and Ace Austin. I have a funny story about Ace Austin, or not even a story, just a point where Ace Austin used to wrestle for MLW. A lot of us remember. And I remember WrestleMania weekend in New York. I went to Queens for an MLW show, and the crowd, we loved Ace Austin, but we definitely roasted him and made fun of him by calling him Gambit. We chanted Gambit the whole match because he had his gimmick at the time. He used to always have his Joker card, and he would have his Gambit
Oh,
like stick that he would flip into the ring, and it would, it would just pop out like a Gambit stick. And we just we spent the entire match, even even though he was flipping around for God knows how many flips and all kinds of crazy stuff. He was giving it up. He was giving it up, but yet and still the crowd, we all said, screw that, you're Gambit, and we're gonna just chant Gambit the whole time, just on some super marked shit. And he
oh
was
my
so, you
gosh.
could tell he was so pissed. He was so pissed. But he was a
Oh
talented dude.
no.
He's still
Yeah.
talented, and I'm just glad that he doesn't have the Gambit stick anymore, so we can't call him Gambit anymore. So hopefully, if that crowd in Queens, me being a part of that, help influence Ace Austin to never carry around that stick.
Oh my
hopefully,
goodness.
hopefully, hopefully, we
Hopefully.
influence
Well,
him to never have that Gambit stick ever again.
that's always the early wrestlers, right? They need a little gimmick
Mm-hmm.
to to lean on, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Well, thank you for indulging me. I know he's kind of a little bit of a wild card pick, but I truly believe given the right setting and the right seasoning, so to speak, I think he's going to break out. Not sure if
No,
this year's the
he's
year,
next
but
up for sure.
I think
Yeah,
he's up. He's due without a doubt.
yeah, for sure.
Well, gentlemen, I really love talking future stars with y'all because it gives me hope for the year ahead and makes me not be pessimistic. And optimism is where we want to look. So, with optimism being the theme, I want to bring you to our non wrestling promo of the week. And today I'm bringing you an oldie but a goodie, as Marty McFly says in Back to the Future. This comes from an on the street interview, I will say, where a gentleman by the name of Charles Ramsey is interviewed by a local TV station because he actually finds a woman that has been kidnapped for 10 years. And you may recognize it because it definitely made the rounds here.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, let me talk to you. I'm talking with Charles Ramsey. He's a neighbor. Walk me through again what happened this afternoon. You heard screaming.
Heard screaming. I'm eating my McDonald's. I come outside. I see this girl going nuts, trying to get out of her house. So I go on the porch.
Okay.
I go on the porch, and she says, "Help me get out. I've been in here a long time." So I figured it's a domestic violence dispute. So I open the door, and we can't get in that way because how the door is, it's so much that a body can't fit through, only your hand. So we kick the bottom, and she comes out with the little girl, and she says, "Call 911. My name is Amanda Berry."
Now, did you know who that was when she said that?
When she told me, it didn't register until I got the call in 911, and I'm like, I'm calling the 911 for Amanda Berry? I thought this girl was dead. You know what I mean? And she got on the phone, and she said, "Yes, this is me." And the detective, Cook, right here, Detective Gregory Cook says, "Charles, do you know who you rescued?" I said,
Now,
Okay, I'll cut it off there. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, I thought, and we can get into the politically correctness of everything, but I just thought so how cool, because man, let's be real. You give someone a live mic or interview, I even freeze up sometimes if I've been interviewed like that. If I don't know the context or everything, obviously he knew the context, but to just be so fluid and on point and funny and knew the amount of the segment it was, I don't know. I thought it was really funny.
As soon as it popped up, I was like, "Oh shit!" I remember him immediately. So that just shows how memorable a moment that was, for how viral of a moment that was. Because when was that clip released? Like 20 years ago plus.
Gosh,
At this
yeah,
point,
I'd have to. I can
probably
actually
like
check when it was
15.
uploaded.
Yeah, probably
10 years
like
ago.
15.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it probably even before that, to be honest. But yeah, man, that's just one of those things where when you see something that is so memorable, you always remember a piece of it. And like you said, his personality, for you to be interviewed by a TV street reporter and for that kind of personality to come off, and it's just crazy how some of the funniest things can be said in the most natural moments and most organic moments. And like, for him to even say, it's an issue if a white girl just falls into the arms of a black man. Like, come on, man, what are you talking about? But it also, low key, you're in your head, you're like, yeah, he's right. He's right. Like it's just one of those funny, hilarious viral moments for sure.
The detail he threw in, right? It wasn't just yeah, I saw them, or I just didn't know, he's been a nice guy or whatever. It was like, no, he takes the dogs out and he just go outside, do the same thing ever. Well, we barbecue together. We had ribs together. And I'm like, we going down the path of what we ate together. And we hung out together. And I'm like, I bet y'all did a lot of other stuff. Because it's like, it's just kind of that type of thing and how he was describing it, right? And he was milking his 15 minutes. There's no doubt, but I also think he was genuine, or at least he came off genuine.
Yeah.
And it's that type of thing that he was funny, he connected with you, he's kind of setting a story, and he gave like a great wrestling promo. He gave the announcers something to go with. So when they get done with him, they have something they can follow up with. And so it's kind of that type of thing, like the news, they're sitting down like, oh yes, this dude right here just talked about.
Oh yeah.
They could go down all kinds of paths and everything, but nah, man, that was a good one. That was was a really good one.
So I'm just
that one caught
envisioning
me
like
off
the
guard.
news
That was
director
hilarious.
being. Oh really? I was envisioning
Yeah,
like the news
yeah.
director being like, all right, clip like 6 of these.
Mhm.
We're gonna use them for the next like week,
Oh,
basically, just for like bumpers and stuff.
I remember that went
Mhm.
viral like crazy. I mean, that was crazy viral, like everywhere.
It was, and again,
That's hilarious, man.
the endurance of a, it's a promo, I guess, in and of itself, because what is he really selling? He's drawing us into the building to a news story, which is what TV wants nowadays,
Mhm.
right? So, or
Mhm.
always has. So,
That's
well,
that's it.
it's a good place to end on there. I think it's a lighthearted way to end our day, even though it's something, with- she saw the light of day, which is great.
Yeah,
Looking
yeah.
forward to again to another round of the episode here. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Always invigorating to pontificate on the promos that were. And if you're listening to us for the first time, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for listening. And if you're joining us again, keep liking, keep subscribing, keep commenting. Drop us a line, send a comment, give us a like, give us your true thoughts on what your thoughts are on the promo and what keeps talking you into the building. So for me, from Adrian, from Greg, have a great week.